Generational curses and what you need to know about them. Generational curses, yeah. And if you want to break them, then this video is for you. Let's get it. So what are generational curses? Let's break this down. If you think that a generational curse is like a curse, somebody's casted this spell upon your family, whatever. No, it's not this like freaking black cloud. Where's the black cloud? Show me it. Everybody thinks like it's associated with this black cloud floating around. There's no cloud. Where is it? It doesn't exist. And here's the thing. We need to keep this in mind about our reality is that nothing has a meaning besides the meaning which you give it. And your reality is completely based on your beliefs. It's going to change the way how you think, feel, and act. How you just show up. Like you're getting a reflection of who you are being. Now, if you want to break generational curses, this is the video for you. The one thing that you have to realize about this is that you are an eternal spiritual being, invincible, indestructible, having the human experience. Okay, reality is simulation, a projection of your consciousness, and you're choosing to have this experience. Everything exists here and now. And you chose to have this experience, and maybe this isn't the first time you're living your exact life. Maybe you've chosen the experience to make it feel like it's your first time experiencing this version of you. Like for me, I may have lived Vency multiple different lifetimes, but the experience feels like it's the first time because I've chosen that. So how generational curses affect you and how to break them is you just got to look at your lineage. And I think it's been like 4,026 like generations of like lineages just for you to be alive, right? How many moms and dads and grandparents you've had of grandparents and great grandparents. I watched this like Teal Swan video and she mentioned like it was like 4,026 or something, pretty close to that number, 4,000 something, just to make you. So you know you're alive. So that's such a grateful thing to have. Like you've chosen this specific time in this timeline to be alive. And really what it's time to understand is like, look at how anything that you believe is a generational curse, lack of abundance, lack of love, romance, not knowing, you have like a dysfunctional family, something like that. And I know I have, my dad was very abusive towards me and my mom, and they didn't know how to really like love each other. My mom's dad abandoned her and her brother and her mom like for another family, started a whole other family on the side, right? And recently they've reconnected, and he's like really like sorry and feels really bad about it and all this stuff. And it turns out like he wasn't happy in that relationship. And then what's funny is like my parents divorced too, my dad's parents divorced also, and it's like it just keeps happening. It just keeps going down that lineage. Like I remember my great grandma, she was single. It's like divorce has been going down this freaking road because nobody knows how to actually, be vulnerable, express their true emotions and feel. Because in Bulgaria, that's where I'm from, everybody's got to be masculine and tough. And like, there's not even any homosexuals running around because like they would just get killed or something like that. Right. Back then, or it's like people can't be who they want to be. It's like it was so suppressed. I don't know how it is now. I think it's a lot more like liberated, more freedom. And sorry, I kind of did a snort there. I hope it was like a good ASMR kind of thing. But do you get this though? It's like, it's a human experience, physical thing. It's not outside of you. It's this thing that's been passed on through generations and generations. And that thing is people not diving in and leaning into the areas that they want to better themselves. Because they just believe they have to be a certain way based off their family or societal, hypnotic, cultural mechanism that's been put in place. Right? We think of society as like the normal fucking thing, but I actually pulled out one of my sociology books from when I was taking sociology back in college. And like, yeah, society is like this group of people and what seems to be the culture, right? Well, when people start to defy that, they start creating like their own little society and group, and it exposes it, right? So it's like you start moving in this little area where you're different and maybe weird and not normal. It's abnormal compared to the society. But eventually you keep doing this enough. Eventually people start to see it because you're exposing them to the light of what's possible. You know, that's why like LGBTQ has, you know, that's why like people have so much more freedom in their lives now. Because people are willing to like step into that. So you have to start looking in like, where's the dysfunction? And you have to be the one to break it by deciding, hey, I don't want to be like this anymore. And you have to start looking up on Google or Chat GPT, like start finding ways to figure it out. Get therapy. And the only way is to realize that you have a problem. Maybe it is lack of communication. Maybe it is this lack of romance and abundance and love. And it's like, well, where'd it come from? From your parents, from the generational curse. It's not a curse. It's a human experience thing that you get to break. It's not this magical thing. You have to go see a tarot card reader and they break the curse for you. That's just a permission slip. Like if you need it, because anything that you start to buy into and believe is going to be true for you because you start to think, feel, and act towards that. You start to, the way you show up and the way you start thinking, it's motivational. It's like when taking a placebo effect, because you saw this tarot card reader that broke your curse and gave you a protection ritual. It's a placebo because now you believe it. It's a permission slip. So start giving yourself a permission slip to realize, I want to do the inner work. I want to shift my vibration. I want to raise my consciousness and start being a deliberate co-creator in my reality and attract loving people in my life. More abundance in my life. Financial abundance. People associate abundance with finances. It's not true. Abundance is having what you need when you need it. And if you stumbled upon this video, you're abundant, baby. You're abundant. You have what you need when you need it. And you probably needed to hear this. And you can only perceive what you're the vibration of. So if this showed up on your feed, it's time. It's time for you to start stepping into inner work. It's time for you to stop believing there it's like a generational curse or nobody in your family is ever going to like listen to you. Because my mom like barely ever wanted to listen to me growing up. She had this like stigma thing where like I'm her son, it has to be her way and blah, blah, blah. It's like very controlling thing. And it's like, no, it's like you have to start rebelling and inviting everybody that you have a connection with, a relationship with, into like this emotional, vulnerable sanctuary and show up the real way, which is you. And let them know like, hey, this is who I am. This is how I see things. This is how I believe things. And you can't make people shift. You can only express how you feel and who you are. And hopefully they'll accept you or not. Except you don't change who you are. You don't change who you are to mitigate them and their tension of like, that's not okay. You can't be this way. My mom recently had a spiritual awakening and we've been able to actually connect more. Now she's like actually understanding some of these things because she found someone that makes spiritual content in Bulgarian and it like starts to work for her because like she doesn't understand like the English and the wording that I use, except now she's getting it. And now she's like, oh yeah, no, source energy, like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, cool, cool. And you know, it's funny. It's like, I actually just started, I had to make that shift within me because it was my reality to shift. And my mom shifted and I broke the generational curse, apparently, right? The lineage just shifted. The timeline has shifted because I decided, you know what? I am making this content and my mom doesn't really see it. And I put so much of my worthiness on her and like her opinions because she's my mom and I love her. So I realized like, what am I doing? Why am I allowing her to change the way I see things and view things? And it's like, I'm not worthy or she doesn't understand. It's like, how will other people understand me if my mom doesn't? Right? It's like this worthiness wound. And it's like, that doesn't matter. I said, F it. I don't care anymore. I don't care. Like that was the deep, 2 weeks ago, I had this like experience where, you know, I detoxed from coffee, which I'm drinking now. I was on vacation. This cup has vacation stuff. Oh, look, it's a shark. It's what you see on vacations, right? And I started because I, you know, was able to like really dive in. I just laid in bed and watched Disenchantment and like other shows. And took a break from everything, except I, you know, still filmed daily content and posted. And what I realized was like, through that deepening, it's like, oh man, my whole life, like even my parents have worthiness wounds. They have all these like issues and stuff. And I said, F it, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I don't care what she says. I don't care if she gets it or not. Well, you know, not like I don't care, like, you know, detaching, because detaching is like, I don't care about your opinion, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I had to accept it. Like, this is who she is. I'm not going to fight it anymore. If she doesn't accept this part or understands it, like, I'm not going to try to force it or control it. Nor have I. I just share the information. I expose them to it, and you know what? Maybe they shift or not. Except I made the shift from within. I was like, I'm okay either way if she gets it or not. But I'm done. I'm done feeding into her like energies and stuff. I'm just gonna start expressing how I feel, and then leave it on her. You know, this is how you set boundaries with people too. It's like you just let them know how you feel about stuff, and after that, it's on them. It's their responsibility to deal with. So I decided I'm worthy. I know what I'm talking about. Now I don't need her validation or approval. And you know what happened? 2-3 days later, she calls me and she's like, Bensi, oh, you have like some, you know, negative energies from the past and blah, blah, blah. And like, and I'm like, that's so weird. Like, what do you know, she's like, I've been watching this Bulgarian person and like, and I'm like, Mom, like, I've been telling you about this stuff for so long. Like, I make content around this stuff. Except I also put in the human experience, which is not outside of you. Like, people think it's like, if you think source is everywhere, like if you think of God as omnipresent and people believe God is omnipresent or source is omnipresent, people think it's like, oh yeah, but they're over there. God is there. He's up there in the sky, everywhere else, but people don't realize that it's you. You're part of all that is. You're part of this source energy having this autonomous, yeah, like, you know, individual experience. Here's the reflection that you get to experience through your own eyes. Like, that's the point of all this, is consciousness. So, you know, like I told her that, and she's like, oh my gosh, I kind of get it now. And we had like this long conversation. And then like, it's funny how we were able to connect. And then I also had to work through my own generational curse of like, you know, when I was growing up, and here's part of the thing that really hurt was like, I was getting kind of fat around like 12 years old or 11 years old. I had kind of like man boobies, which you know ended up putting me in a fitness journey, which ended up getting me a really good fitness career, where I ended up helping, you know, thousands of clients. So either way though, the point is like, oh yeah, this one, okay, this one kind of very vulnerable. I was sitting in a chair one day after like I went swimming, and like my dad was like making fun of me and like telling me I need a bra and I have man boobs and stuff, and like it hurt, right? I mean, I knew my dad was like kind of like abusive, but he just kept going on with it till I just like I was sitting there in the chair like holding back tears. I was suppressing my you know, trying to be masculine and strong, and like, you know, because he would also hit me if I ever cried. Like he would just I was taught to suppress my feelings. And that he would learn that probably from his dad. His dad was abusive too. So it's like, you get it? It's like abuse, and it's like you just keep doing what you're taught. And I had to be the one to decide to break that. Because I felt things deeper than anybody else. And I always wanted a different way. And a lot of the times, like, I actually thought when I was younger, like, I wasn't going to make it to 12 years old when I was like 11. Because like my dad, like, whooped my butt. Like, you know, really hurt me. He actually like did like a freaking like karate kick right into like my rib cage, and like, and he was like a jiu-jitsu whatever growing up, so like some champion or something, so you know he knew how to fight, and he did that, and I was like crying, you know, because I couldn't take the pain. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna survive. I thought I was gonna die. I thought he was gonna kill me. And for most of my life I was suicidal. Like I was praying to God to kill me. Like I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, why am I here? When I was young, like I actually found a suicide note that I wrote like a while back, and when I was that age, and like I also wrote this poem like, why does life have to be so blue, like blah blah blah. Like either way though, like, do you see how they just transfer over, and it's like you have to be the one to decide to break it. And because I was willing to expose my mom to the information, I had to also like let go of this worthiness wound. Like, so what? Like I was so self-conscious for so long that I actually ended up developing like eating disorders through that. And Well, also on top of like getting motivated to do a fitness journey for my life. And man, yeah, whenever I get like vulnerable and don't express things that I wasn't prepared to express and just kind of went down this thing, I kind of start to like stutter in my flow. Either way, I had to work through that. And once I decided like I'm letting this go, I don't like, it's okay. I'm not going to fight it. She is who she is. And I love her unconditionally. Like I accept it, moving on. And next thing I know, 2-3 days later, she's calling me and like totally getting everything. Like that's how quick your life can shift. If you just are okay with whatever it is, like if you're unconditional and you just choose to be happy anyway. I'm like, those 2 weeks or like week that I took off, I was just like, I don't care about anything else besides me being happy. And not like this like detachment. People think detachment's the key, but detaching's like, I don't care, you know, like, but really you do. It's about being non-attached. It's about being engaging into physical reality and whatever's happening and still choosing the vibration that you want to be in, which is unconditional love, unconditional happiness. So you have to start stepping into breaking these generational curses on your own by recognizing like, what are you leaning into that you believe that is affecting your reality? And what are the places where you're leaning out of and not doing the inner work? Because that inner work sucks sometimes. It hurts. It hurts to look at your shadow. Like there's parts of you that you don't like. There's parts of you that you haven't fully felt and hurt. And it's like you just suppressed them and you held back tears. So you have to be willing to go through that to raise your vibration. And when you actually go through it, you end up like me and you end up being really happy. You know, it's this like a very unconditional place, because whenever something that shows up in your reality that bothers you, you're just like, all right. You feel the feeling as it's showing up, and then you decide, okay, I'm going to choose better feeling thoughts. Because what you know, because you reach a place where you know whatever's showing up is showing up for a reason. And you get a benefit from it either way, because you will never be able to connect the dots where you are in your emotional pot of boiling water states. You'll only be able to connect the dots after that water simmered. Maybe like a month or two later, maybe even a year. You'll finally realize why something happened the way it did and what benefit you got. Look at all your past relationships. I'm pretty sure you started building ways how to communicate better with people. What type of love you do deserve in your life. Maybe how to set boundaries. And a lot of times people date narcissistic people, karmatic partners that show up in your life to show you the lesson of how to set boundaries. Because you can't deal with narcissistic people other ways. Like you have to set boundaries with them. And a lot of times when you set enough boundaries, they'll leave. Because they're not getting that energy supply from you. Like they know that they can't manipulate you. So step into the areas and realize like, where is this black cloud floating around? And I challenge you, lean into that. Lean in having, you know, vulnerable intentional, that feel like it's intentional conversations with your family members and express how you feel. And remember, don't be afraid of their outcome, because it's like it's on their responsibility for them to shift or not. You just have to expose them to who you are, and then you choose deliberately that you are this new version and you're okay with whatever. And I say this because if you want to shift your like family dynamic and you want your family to understand you, and I know a lot of people struggle with that, and I know I did, it's like you just expose them to it and you're okay either way. Like their opinions don't matter. Like they're there to unconditionally love you either way. They may express their opinions, and real deep down inside, they still love you. They still want you in their life. Like you're their daughter or son. You have to be the one to look up how to be more vulnerable, how to express your feelings, how to set boundaries, how to love deeper. Watch more videos like this. Like you need to reprogram your mind, because generational curses are just your programming. And it's what you've been taught and what's been passed down through your lineage and generations. It's a generational curse because it feels like everything's wrong, but it's not. Like you're allowing it to be wrong. You're allowing like something outside of you, and you're just accepting it like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna eat chocolate cake because it tastes good, but really it's adding all this weight on you, and you're like, well, it's just part of the thing. It's part of the chocolate cake. No, stop eating the chocolate cake. There's healthier foods that still taste good. Okay, like you can eat something better, and it's actually better for your body. Like you're making that deliberate choice to still have that habitual habit. And healing these things is not this grandiose healing journey. Healing is instant, because as soon as you add your conscious awareness to whatever habit or dysfunction that you've had in your family or problems that you don't know how to deal with, as soon as you add your conscious awareness to a habit, it stops being a habitual habit. Because once you root down the problem, like, hey, I am doing this. Hey, I can't communicate this way. Hey, I suck at setting boundaries. Like, once you add your awareness to that, it's now a choice. It's a choice from moving forward. Anything that you decide and you continue to do this habitual habit, it's no longer habitual because it's not a habit anymore, because you're choosing to do it deliberately. Like, you're choosing to keep eating chocolate cake when you don't have to, when you know it's bad for you, when you know you don't express your feelings, you don't honor your voice to people and express your needs because you want to whimper and maybe people please because you have an unworthiness wound, or will they like me? Will I get more validation, approval? Like, when you're in fear, like you're choosing to continue being that way, it's a choice because you added your awareness to it now. You know it's a problem. So you have to constantly keep reminding yourself, and I get it. You may feel triggered at times, and that's just your ego and unprocessed emotion and things that are coming up. Except you have to catch yourself during those moments and be like, this is a choice. I remember this is a choice. And you don't have to respond right away to people. You don't have to respond to things right away. You can take a moment and figure out what response you want to give. Not a reaction to the past version of you. Not a reaction, because everything else that you've been programming yourself as to keep taking action this way is a reaction to your old version of self. So it's your sacred responsibility, your ability to respond in a way which you prefer to whatever shows up in your reality. Person, place, or thing. Even conversations. So that's the main thing that it's time to start for you to realize is reprogram yourself. And whenever something comes up, choose the way you want to respond. Your sacred responsibility. Your ability to respond in a way which you prefer. So, once you figure that out, the generational curse is gone. Because now it's a choice. Now you're going to keep either eating this chocolate cake and saying it's outside of you. It's not. It's not outside of you. It's a choice every single time. So, it's your opportunity to become better. Not to wish your life to be easier. Not to go see a tarot card reader to remove the generational curse. So your life gets easier. Wish for you to be better. And you have to take human aligned experience action towards those things. Physical action. Towards bettering yourself, because you want to be this version. It's not outside of you. Nobody can just cast a spell and all of a sudden you're abundant and rich. I mean, you could manifest that in your reality if you really believe it. It's a placebo effect. Except you have to truly, truly believe it. And that is how physical reality works. The simulation you're creating, it's a conscious projection. And the experience, it's a choice. You have to decide what you believe to be true about your reality. Permission slips. You need the permission slip from the tarot card reader to do that for you. Get it. Except things only shift when you shift and reprogram yourself. Stop eating chocolate cake. Okay? It's not a black cloud. All right? It's not this chocolate cake floating in the sky. It's you. I know I've been on repeat here. So this is what it is. It's you. It's you have to decide. And whenever I chose to finally decide to shift myself and my reality and better myself and look up information and ways how to do things better and keep going no matter how difficult it got, everything became easier because I got better. And you can too. Challenge you. Look within. Talk to your families, do whatever you got to do to break this generational curse once and for all. Give yourself a permission slip. That's all it is. Okay? And like, it's not outside of you. It's within you. Like, you have to break it yourself. You have to start believing something different about your reality. And that comes through that breakthrough moment when you realize nothing is outside of you. Okay, so have an alchemizing day. Namaste.